Hey house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 21 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Holly Noel. Holly, thank you so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we really, really appreciate it and think you're awesome. So thank you again, and if you guys want to be house guest of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Alright, so when we left off yesterday, they had just finished the power veto ceremony, and Tommy used the veto on his childhood friend, Christy. Yes, I said childhood friend. Not only do they know each other from Christy dating Tommy's aunt, but it turns out they knew each other before that. They were childhood friends, and then I guess they went apart for a little while, and they were brought back together when Christy started dating Tommy's aunt. So yeah, their story is even longer than we thought. Okay, whatever. So because Christy was up on the block after the, America's Field Trip, there was no replacement nominee for her, which means we go back to 2 nominees, and it's Kat versus Cliff on the block. One of them will be leaving on Thursday. And that sucks. Oh, why does it have to be one of Cliff's angels? So Cliff and Nicole were chatting in the patio area, and Cliff is trying to figure out who he can get votes from. And he's starting to think that his path to getting votes this week, is Nicole, Nick, Christy, and Sis. I mean, he doesn't really know what Jess is going to do this week, but he figures Jess is really close to Kat, so Kat is probably going to have her vote. And then he's also like, whoa, Jackson and Holly are super close to Kat. I don't think I can rely on them for a vote either, so I'm going to have to look elsewhere. And he sees Nick, Christy, and Sis as potential votes, of course. And obviously Nicole, who's already promised her vote to Cliff. So they're realizing, yeah, Kat is a lot closer to Jackson and Holly than they previously thought. Kat went right to them after the veto ceremony. That's kind of a red flag. They're always talking behind closed doors. That's a red flag. And Nicole also brings up how when she was trying to figure out how to keep all of Cliff's angels safe this week, remember she had that plan to get Holly up on the block and then they get rid of Holly? Kat did not seem to like that plan. She didn't want to be up against Holly on the block. So they're like, whoa, where do we stand with Kat compared to Jackson and Holly? So Cliff is planning to really push in his campaigning that there's a trio that needs to be broken up. And Nicole is just still upset about how Kat went to Tommy with the whole Nick-Nicole information thing. So just a quick reminder, because this has come up multiple times this week now. Nick told Nicole that he thought that Cliff and Kat would be going up on the block. Nicole brought this information to Kat, and he told her it's just speculation. You know, don't think into this too much. I just wanted to give you a heads up that it's a possibility. So then Kat went to Tommy and was like, I heard from Nicole, who heard from Nick, that I could be going up on the block this week. Is that true? So yeah, Nicole is not happy that Kat was spreading around that information, even though she doesn't think she was doing it in a malicious way. But she realizes I can't trust her with information. Even when she's not being sketchy about it, she's just like panicking or whatever, she is just spilling info. So can't have that. So then Cliff and Nick were chatting, and Cliff starts things off. He gets right in there. He's like, how tight do you think Jackson, Kat, and Holly are? Are they the 3 that we need to be going against? He's wasting no time, right? So Nick says, yeah, they're really tight. Nick says that he has multiple reasons why he wants to keep Cliff here this week. Number 1, he trusts him. You know, Cliff has built up a pretty good reputation for himself when it comes to following through with what he says he's gonna do. So people really respect that. Number 2, if Cliff were to go, the girls would be up 6-3 in numbers, and Nick is convinced that Jess would still put up 2 guys if she won HOH, so that worries him. And then he also, number 3, wants to break up the trio of Kat, Holly, and Jackson, so that could be done by evicting Kat. So then Nick is saying, okay, Cliff, I know you didn't want to take the deal from Jack last week, but there could be a new deal on the table this week. What if we put together a final 6 with you, Me, Christy, Tommy, Nicole, and Sis. Cliff says immediately, yes, I would do it in a heartbeat. Yes, let's set it up. So he says he'll give his word to all 5 of them, and he says that he'd be happy with any of the 6 winning. Would he though? I don't know about that. So yeah, he says he's on board. So Nick takes this information, he goes up to the HOH room and reports back to Sis. And he tells her all about the conversation with Cliff. He's cool with the final 6 deal. He said he'd be happy losing to any of us. That's not exactly what he said, but then Sis twists it even further, acting like, oh yeah, he's gonna be cool with us evicting him in 6th place, and then like one of us will win. That's not what that means. But she says, I effing like this. But she also is a little bit weirded out that Cliff is so on board for this, but he wouldn't be okay with losing to Jack. Like, why didn't he take the deal last week? Oh my god, he's gone. Get over it. Also, do you not understand how this works? Just because you say that you'd be happy if somebody else won, that doesn't mean that you're just gonna, like, lay down and give the win to that person. He didn't want Jack around because he didn't feel like he could beat him. Hello? So, yeah, anyway, Nick says that they're all safe until final 6, and he says if he won HOH at final 6, he would put up Christy and Nicole. Because when they were first talking about this final 6 deal with Nick, Christy, and Sis in the room, Sis was like, oh, are you sure that you would go after Nicole and Cliff before the rest of us when we get down to 6? And Nick was like, yeah, of course. But he didn't want to say in front of Christy that she would be one of his nominees. So he's telling Sis now, yeah, I would put up Christy and Nicole. So Sis says, and I would vote for whoever you want to go. You know, I would do what you say. Big surprise. But Sis says, I know that I can't beat Christy, so if it's time to get rid of her then it's time for her to go. So Nick says that his main goal is to get to the final 3 with himself, Sis, and Tommy. Disgusting! Oh, that'd be such a nasty final 3. I just can't even think about it because it makes me want to puke. Sorry. Okay, so then Christy joins them, and Nick is telling her all about the Cliff conversation. He doesn't say, I would put you up at final 6, but yeah, he leaves that part out. But they're all excited about the deal. They're like, oh my god, we're going to final 6! And they go over their eviction order moving forward. So obviously this week, Kat. Then next week they want to target Jackson, but Sis was like, oh, I don't want to have to be the one to do that. I hope that Cliff or Nicole wins HOH and they can take out Jackson for us. Then Holly, and then they want to leave Jess until last, before the 6th. So they want her to leave in 7th place. I would love to see Jess stick around, and then like Jess, Nicole, and Cliff take over and get rid of the other ones. Okay. That'd be fun. Anyway, for this week, for the votes, Christy and Sis were talking about how they want to throw Holly and Jackson off about how they're voting, make it seem like they're keeping Kat, but they're not. But they want to see if they can get Jackson and Holly on the wrong side of the vote so that Cliff will want to target them even more, give him more incentive to go after them. Okay, so then Nick was saying, oh my god, everything happens for a reason. I got kicked out of Grateful so that I could keep everyone safe until final 6. These people suck! Okay, so a little later, this is interesting. Sis, Christy, and Tommy were in the HOH room. And yes, they're still planning on voting out Kat. That's not the interesting part. But they're talking to Tommy about the final 6 deal that they want to make with Cliff and Nicole. And Tommy is not feeling this deal with Cliff. He thinks it's too much. He feels like Cliff could potentially win the whole thing if he makes it to the final 6. That makes him very uncomfy. He's not sure how he would do against Cliff in those last few competitions. So Tommy says that's why he was only proposing a 2-week deal with Cliff. Do you guys think that Tommy's also pissed that all these other people are involved in this deal with Cliff and like he just wanted the safety for himself? I feel like there's probably just like a little bit of that in there as well. But Christy and Sis are like, you know what? If we're gonna keep Cliff this week, we want to secure our safety with him. We want to make this deal. So Christy says they're gonna need Cliff for mental competitions anyway. If they can use him to take out Holly, Jackson, and Jess or whatever, they're all for it. So Christy says, don't worry, once we get to Final 6, I will take out Cliff at Final 6. Okay, so I mean, when they're done talking, they do their, I love you, I'm obsessed with you. Okay. So then, Nicole and Jess were discussing the vote, and it's really tough for them this week because it's 2 Cliff's Angels up on the block. They love them both. It's going to be really difficult to decide. Now keep in mind, Nicole has already promised her vote to Cliff, and Jess has already promised her vote to Kat. But they haven't really talked through things yet because they know that the other person is closer to the person that they're voting to evict. So it's kind of like an uncomfortable situation for them as well in that sense. So Jess says, yeah, I'm closer to Kat, but I do feel like Cliff is better to keep around game-wise. She's not so sure that Kat would actually follow through and put up Holly and Jackson if she won HOH, because Kat is really close to them, closer than she likes to lead on. So Nicole eventually admits, yes, she is leaning towards keeping Cliff this week. Kat, again, is too loose with the info, even if she's not doing it maliciously. She just gets emotional and she starts spewing info, and that's not good for their games. Also, Kat reports to people like Jackson and Holly. So how much of an allegiance is there with Jackson and Holly? Is it more than what she has with us? You know, they're not totally sure where Kat stands with them, but they feel like they may be below Jackson and Holly at this point. So Jess says she totally gets it. However, she's worried that she's gonna look bad to people if she goes ahead and votes to evict Kat, because Kat is a close personal friend of hers. So she doesn't know what the perception is gonna be like. She says she doesn't even talk that much game with Kat. It's more of like a, again, personal friendship. So I don't know. But Jess says part of her does want Cliff to stay. So then Nicole is like, okay, I don't want Kat to be blindsided this week. So she is planning on telling Kat how she's going to vote, but she wants to wait a bit. She doesn't want to tell Kat too early because she might get upset and accidentally blow up like their alliance, blow up their games. So she doesn't want to give Kat a chance to do that. So she's going to wait a bit. But it's going to be painful to keep telling Kat, like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do, you know, I'm still trying to figure it out. Yeah, that sucks. So Jess says if her vote doesn't matter this week and it's not gonna be like a super close vote, she's probably just gonna throw her vote to Kat anyway, just because it's like a nice thing to do since they are good friends. Okay, so then they also talk about how they feel like it's probably better for them to move forward with Christy and Tommy as opposed to Jackson and Holly. You know, Jackson and Holly aren't doing much for them at this point. And it's kind of like they're screwed either way, because Christy and Tommy obviously are in with the old 6 shooters still. They're still part of that group, whatever. But at the same time, Jackson and Holly, or at least Holly, is more than willing to go back with that group and take out the rest of the outsiders. And Jackson is kind of like along for the ride with her. He doesn't really want to work with Christy, but I feel like if Christy was gone, he would probably be into it too. So yeah, it's a tough time for Cliff's Angels right now. But anyway, Kat's campaigning is not going well, and she knows it. Because, I mean, whenever you campaign, people are going to ask you, all right, if you stay, who would you target if you won HOH? And Kat is saying that she would be targeting Jackson, and she would put Holly up next to him. But people are not believing her, because it's not true, and it's so obvious. She hangs out with Jackson and Holly all the time, so it doesn't make sense. People are not buying this. As of right now, she's going. Ooh, okay. let's check in with Holly and Jackson. They were having some issues yesterday, and I think part of the reason is the night before, Jackson was carrying Holly around on his shoulder, and she ended up hitting her head on one of the bedroom dressers, and she kept saying like, oh, I hit my temple, I hit my temple. So she was in pain, she was having headaches, she was worried that she had a concussion. So that was bothering her yesterday. She was kind of irritable. I think she got checked out and they said, no, it's not a concussion, so like chill. But no, she was worried about that. Also though, this is messed up. A few hours later, they're in the Target bedroom and Holly and Jackson were having sex while Christy and Sis were also in the room. And Christy and Sis were awake and like talking to each other, so it was known that they were awake, and they're talking about how hot it was in the room and like pooping, and there you look over to Jackson just pounding away with hot, like, oh my god, it was sick. What actual F? What is wrong with these people? Remember when Holly was telling Jackson that she didn't want to like do it on the feeds anymore? And now they're doing it with other people in the room. So I think that could have also been part of the reason why she was upset. Okay, back to the game. I'm sorry, it's so nasty I had to mention it. But back to the game. They're wondering if they've been replaced at this point in their old alliance by Nick and Nicole, because things are like off right now. Yeah, they have been. And Cliff is in there too. So it's a new sixth and you're not in it. Okay, so they think that they should keep isolating themselves because that's something that they've been doing the last day or two, and they're thinking, oh, if they do this, their target is gonna shrink because they're just two, and people are gonna want to go after bigger groups. Bigger groups like who? Next week, there's only gonna be 9 people left, and you're already suspecting that more than half of those people are working together. They think there's at least like a 5 working together that they're not a part of. So if somebody from that 5 wins, who are they gonna go after? Their own group? I don't think so. So who else is there to go after? Why would they not go for a duo? It doesn't make sense. But anyway, in reality, people have noticed that Jackson and Holly are isolating themselves, and they're getting really weirded out by it, and it's just giving them more of a reason to target Holly and Jackson. So yes, continue to isolate yourselves. It's really working. So then they were discussing what they would do if one of them were to win the next HOH, and Jackson is saying that he would target Christy, and Holly says she would put up Nick and Nicole. Are you still trying to keep the 6 together? Oh my god. So she says she would target Nick, and if Nick, oh sorry, she would target Nick because she thinks that he would be really hard to beat in mental competitions that are coming up. So she wants to get rid of him before that all starts. And then if Nick were to win the power of veto, she would probably put up Christy, and Nicole would just be a pawn. Okay. Whatever. So anyway, last night, Big Brother gave the house guests some alcohol to try and liven up a boring night, and the house guests were like, yeah, we want to save it. We're gonna save it for tomorrow so that we can day drink, maybe have like a barbecue or something. And then Big Brother told them, no, if you don't drink it tonight, we're taking it away. Whoa, okay, so the house guests were drinking their alcohol. They had a bunch of beers, they had 2 bottles of wine, and they started playing Never Have I Ever up in the HOH room, and it was raunchy. It was Raunch City. So before they even started, Nicole excused herself. She was like, yeah, I don't want to play this. I don't want to be here for this. I'm out of here. And Jackson was working out in the backyard. I think he did end up joining eventually, but he was not there for the beginning. So then Nicole was talking to the cameras, and she said, I'm true to myself. She made a PSA. She says, everything in moderation. Don't do drugs. Use a designated driver. Use protection or abstain. Make smart choices. And she said, it's not me to like get drunk and play a crazy game. And she says like, I'm not judging the other people, but that's just not who I am. And she's telling people it's okay to remove yourself from a situation if you're uncomfortable. Don't succumb to peer pressure. Aw, Nicole, that's so nice. And then she said, yes, Miss Nicole is having a drink and that's okay. Everything in moderation. Wow, she's like a really respectable adult that works with young children. Maybe some other people in the house could take a hint from her, Nick. But anyway, yeah, so everybody else was playing Never Have I Ever, and it went there. It was like Degrassi. So then later, last night or this morning, Sis, Nick, and Tommy were all sleeping in the HOH bed. And Sis and Nick were cuddling. They were back to front. They were front to front. I mean, their faces were really close together. It was looking pretty snuggly. And guess what? Bella dumped Nick's ass on social media. What? Or at least it seemed like it, but then she was like, oh, we're gonna talk about this. So I don't know if she actually did or not, but like, ugh. It's about damn time, right? I mean, he's done and said many, many, many questionable things, but it seems like that could be the straw that broke the camel's back. Okay. So anyway, we've got 2 days left until the eviction. Will there be any campaigning today? I don't know. We'll see what happens. I don't think they're gonna solidify the deal with Cliff yet. I think they want to wait on that. It'll be interesting to see if Tommy tries to stop it and changes the deal. We'll see what happens. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments, and until tomorrow, much love.